I'm Camila, 28, and literally last weekend, my rep as the family's planner? Yeah, it totally backfired. The orderly life I'd worked my butt off to keep solid? It blew up into a full-on family meltdown at my one-bedroom apartment. My unemployed sister, Stephanie, straight up demanded I let her crash indefinitely, and when I clapped back, the room went dead silent. "You're so selfish, Camila," she yelled, with my parents nodding like puppets. But here's the tea. Their shade didn't break me. It lit a spark. I'm not just pushing back, I'm about to flip the script and change everything. A quick note. This story is copyrighted by the YouTube channel Guest Stories. Reposting, revoicing, or editing this content without permission constitutes copyright infringement. Thank you for respecting original creative work. Now back to the story. I've always been the one who had it together. My apartment was my sanctuary. Every piece of furniture, every color on the walls chosen with care. I'd spent years building a life that felt like mine. A steady marketing job, a budget that left room for small joys like weekend brunches, and a routine that kept chaos at bay. I'm not saying I'm perfect, my desk is a mess of post-its, and I'm guilty of leaving dishes in the sink, but I had control. That was until Stephanie showed up. It was a Friday evening, the kind where I'd usually be curled up with a glass of wine and a spreadsheet, planning my next month. The doorbell buzzed, sharp and insistent, like it was angry. I opened the door, expecting a delivery, but there stood Stephanie, her hair a tangled mess, dragging 2 bulging duffel bags. "Hey sis," she said, brushing past me like she owned the place. "I'm moving in." My stomach dropped. I gripped the door frame, my knuckles whitening. "What? You can't just... Did you even ask?" My voice was sharper than I meant, but she didn't flinch. She tossed her bags onto my cream-colored couch, one of them knocking over a framed photo of our family from years ago, back when I still thought we were a team. She smirked, kicking off her sneakers, which left a smudge on my rug. "Mom and Dad said it's fine, I lost my lease, so, family helps family." I stood frozen, my heart pounding in my ears. Family helps family. Those words stung, because in our house family always meant Stephanie. She was the golden child. Charming, impulsive, always forgiven. Me? I was the boring one, the one who paid bills on time and never asked for help. I wanted to scream, to shove her bags back out the door, but I just stood there, my jaw tight as she flopped onto my couch and grabbed my TV remote. I retreated to my tiny kitchen, pretending to make tea, but really I was trying to breathe. My hands shook as I filled the kettle, the water sloshing over the edge. Stephanie didn't even look up, already flicking through channels like she'd lived here forever. I kept thinking about the call I'd gotten from Mom earlier that week, her voice syrupy sweet. "Camila, Steph's going through a rough patch. Be a good sister." No discussion, no question, just an order. I'd said yes because saying no felt like betraying them. But now, with Stephanie sprawled across my life, I felt something shift inside me. A spark, yes, but also a question. How much longer was I going to let them run my show? The next morning, I woke up to dishes piled in the sink. My dishes, but with Stephanie's takeout containers mixed in. She was still asleep, snoring on the couch, her stuff spilling out of her bags like a yard sale. I stepped over a pair of her jeans, my bare feet cooled on the hardwood I'd spent months saving to refinish. I grabbed my phone and texted my best friend Lena. "She's here, unannounced, help." Lena's reply was instant. "Evict her, now." I laughed, but it was hollow. Evicting Stephanie wasn't just about her, it was about facing Mom and Dad, who'd always backed her chaos over my calm. I sat at my small dining table staring at my laptop, my budget spreadsheet open. Rent, groceries, utilities, all calculated to the cent. There was no room for Stephanie's mess, her unpredictability. I tapped my pen against the table, the rhythm matching my racing thoughts. I'd spent years building this life, piece by piece, and now it felt like a house of cards. But as I looked at Stephanie's bags, at the way she'd claimed my space without a second thought, that spark flared brighter. I wasn't just going to push back, I was going to take my life back, starting with a plan they'd never see coming. As I stared at those bags cluttering my living room floor, memories flooded in like an unwanted tide, pulling me back to all the times my family had made me feel like an afterthought. I sank into the chair at my dining table, my fingers tracing the edge of a coaster, the one I'd bought on a solo trip to thrift stores last year. It was supposed to be a small victory, finding little things that made my space feel personal. But now, with Stephanie's presence invading everything, those old hurts resurfaced, sharp and insistent. I closed my eyes, and there it was, the history of being invisible, playing out in my mind like a reel I couldn't pause. It started with high school graduation. I'd worked my ass off, staying up late studying while Stephanie partied and barely passed her classes. I graduated with honors, even got a scholarship to college. But at the family dinner that night, Mom and Dad couldn't stop gushing over Stephanie's artistic soul. She'd painted some abstract thing for art class and they framed it, hung it in the living room like it was a masterpiece. "Look at our little Picasso," Dad said, ruffling her hair while I sat there, my diploma in my lap, feeling like a prop. I remember clenching my fork so hard the tines left marks on my palm. When I tried to share my news, Mom waved it off. "Oh, Camila, that's great, but Stephanie's got real talent. You know, the creative kind." I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing a smile, but inside it burned. Why was my hard work just expected while her whims got parades? Then there was college. I majored in marketing, juggled 2 part-time jobs to pay what the scholarship didn't cover. Stephanie? She dropped out after 1 semester saying it stifled her vibe. But when she decided to pursue modeling, my parents threw her a send-off party that complete with cake and toasts. I came home for it, exhausted from finals, and found the house decked out. Dad pulled me aside, his hand on my shoulder, but not in pride, in instruction. "Camila, you should support your sister more. She's taking risks." Risks? I'd been taking risks every day, betting on myself without a safety net. I nodded, biting my lip until it stung, watching as they cheered her on. My own graduation a year later, a quick card in the mail with $20 inside. "Proud of you, kiddo," it said. No party, no frame for my degree. I hung it in my apartment myself, hammering the nail with shaky hands, tears blurring my vision. The pattern kept repeating, wearing me down like sandpaper. My first real job after college, I landed a position at a decent firm, entry-level but with potential. I called home excited, my voice bubbling as I described the office, the projects. Mom listened for maybe 30 seconds before interrupting. "That's nice, honey. Did you hear Stephanie got that callback for the commercial?" Stephanie hadn't even shown up for the audition in the end, but it didn't matter. They celebrated the possibility. I hung up, my phone slipping from my hand onto the couch, and just sat there staring at the wall. My chest tightened, a mix of anger and sadness twisting like a knot. Why did her failures get more attention than my wins? I paced my tiny apartment that night, kicking at the baseboards, whispering to myself that it didn't matter. But it did. It chipped away at me, making me doubt if I was worth celebrating. Even holidays reinforced it. Last Christmas, I'd saved up to buy everyone thoughtful gifts, a custom planner for Mom, tools for Dad's garage, and for Stephanie a set of paints since she was rediscovering her art. They opened mine last, barely glancing. "Thanks, Camila," Dad muttered, already eyeing Stephanie's haul. She'd gotten them generic gift cards, but oh, the praise. "So thoughtful, Steph. You know us so well." I gripped my coffee mug, the heat searing my fingers, fighting back the urge to snap. Instead, I excused myself to the bathroom, splashing water on my face, staring at my reflection. My eyes were red-rimmed, but I straightened my shoulders, whispered, "You're fine. Keep going." But deep down I wasn't. Each slight built this wall, brick by brick, until I felt separate from them. And promotions? Forget it. When I got bumped up at work 2 years ago, more responsibility, a small raise, I texted the family group chat. Crickets from Mom and Dad, but Stephanie replied with a thumbs-up emoji, followed by a selfie of her at some party. Later, Mom called, not about me, but to ask if I could loan Stephanie money for headshots. I transferred it, my thumb hovering over the send button for a second too long, regret pooling in my gut. Why was I always the bank, the backup plan? I lay in bed that night, the sheets tangled around my legs, replaying every dismissal. My achievements were footnotes, hers were headlines. Sitting there now, with Stephanie's snores echoing from the couch, those flashbacks hit like punches. I rubbed my temples, the pressure building behind my eyes. It wasn't just invisibility, it was erasure. They'd molded me into the reliable one, the one who didn't need spotlights because I was supposed to shine quietly. But as I looked at her bags again, something hardened in me. This wasn't just about space, it was about years of being sidelined. My hands clenched into fists on the table, nails digging into palms. I wasn't going to fade anymore. That spark from last night? It was turning into a flame. I needed a way out, a real one, before they swallowed me whole. That flame flickered stronger as I pushed away from the table, my chair scraping against the floor with a harsh grind that echoed my frustration. I couldn't just sit here stewing in those memories anymore. They were fuel now, not weights. I grabbed my laptop from the counter, my fingers brushing over the cool metal, and slipped into my bedroom, closing the door softly so as not to wake Stephanie. The click of the latch felt like a small act of defiance, carving out a sliver of privacy in my own home. I sank onto the bed, the mattress dipping under my weight, and opened a new browser tab, my heart thudding with a mix of fear and excitement. This was it. The aha moment hitting me like a jolt. I didn't have to endure this. I could leave, start fresh, but on my terms, in secret. No announcements, no arguments, just gone. I started simple, typing affordable apartments near me into the search bar, my cursor blinking impatiently as if urging me on. The results popped up, a list of bland listings with stock photos of smiling people in empty rooms. But I scrolled slowly, my eyes narrowing at each one, weighing pros and cons in my head. Too expensive. Too far from work. No parking. My thumb hovered over the trackpad, scrolling back up, doubt creeping in. What if I couldn't afford it? My budget was tight already, and adding moving costs. I bit my lip, the metallic taste of blood grounding me. No, I had to try. I refined the search, 1 bedroom under $1,500, pet-friendly. Even though I didn't have a pet, it felt like planning for a future where I could. Hours blurred as I clicked through sites, my back aching from hunching over the screen. I made a spreadsheet, because that's what I do, organize chaos, listing addresses, rents, amenities. One caught my eye, a cozy unit in a quiet building 10 minutes from my office, with hardwood floors and a balcony. The photos showed sunlight streaming in, and I imagined myself there, alone, sipping coffee without interruption. But the application required references, income proof. I paused, my fingers freezing on the keys. What if my parents found out? They had ways of prying. Mom's casual calls that turned into interrogations. I minimized the window, leaning back against the headboard, my breath coming in shallow bursts. This wasn't just moving, it was betrayal in their eyes. But in mine? Survival. I pushed through, downloading the application PDF, my mouse clicking with deliberate force. Filling it out felt clandestine, like writing a secret letter. Name: Camila Ruiz. Income: steady from my marketing gig. References: I listed Lena and a coworker, avoiding family. As I typed, Stephanie stirred in the living room, her cough breaking the silence. I froze, my hands hovering, pulse racing. If she woke up and saw? No, I told myself, exhaling slowly. This was mine. I hit submit, the confirmation email pinging almost immediately. Application received. My chest loosened a fraction, but the struggle was just starting. The next day dragged at work, my mind elsewhere. During lunch, I snuck calls to realtors from the break room, cupping my hand over the phone, voice low. Yes, available next month? Great. Can I view it after hours? One agent, a brisk woman named Karen, agreed to a showing that evening. I lied to Stephanie, told her I had a work event, my words tumbling out too fast, but she just shrugged, glued to her phone. Driving there, my hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, rain pattering against the windshield like doubts. What if it was a dump? What if I couldn't swing the deposit? The building loomed, modest but clean, and Karen met me at the door, keys jingling. Stepping inside, the empty space hit me, echoey, full of potential. I walked the room slowly, my shoes clicking on the floor, running my fingers along the countertops. No smudges, no clutter. The balcony overlooked a small park, and I stood there, wind tugging at my hair, envisioning plants, a chair, peace. It's perfect, I whispered to myself, but aloud to Karen, I'll take it. She nodded, pulling out forms, and I signed with a steady hand, though inside, adrenaline surged. The deposit drained my savings, $1,200 gone in a transfer, but it felt like investing in freedom. I drove home in a daze, rain heavier now, wipers swishing rhythmically, but the intense struggle kicked in that night. Lying in bed, Stephanie's TV blaring through the wall, I second-guessed everything. My phone buzzed, Mom calling. I let it go to voicemail, her message sweet but probing. How's Steph settling in? You two okay? I deleted it. My thumb pressing hard, guilt twisting in my gut. This secret was heavy. Keeping it meant lying, dodging. Over the next week I packed subtly, boxing books under my bed, labeling them storage. Each item I tucked away felt like reclaiming a piece of myself, but the deception wore on me. I'd catch myself staring at the wall, fists clenched, wondering if I was the selfish one after all. Then, the breakthrough. The lease approval email arrived while I was at work, hidden in my inbox like buried treasure. Congratulations, Camila. Move-in date, 2 weeks. I read it twice, my breath catching, a smile breaking through despite the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I'd done it, secured this hidden success, a new home they knew nothing about. No fanfare, no family toasts, just my quiet victory. I forwarded it to Lena, who replied with emojis and, "Yes, girl!" That night, as Stephanie raided my fridge, oblivious, I sipped tea in the kitchen, my secret warming me like the mug in my hand. The plan was set. Now I just needed the right moment to execute. But as I rinsed the cup, water swirling down the drain, I felt the weight lifting. This wasn't escape, it was evolution. With that lease approval tucked away like a hidden key, I moved through the next few days on autopilot, my secret buzzing under my skin like a low hum. I'd glance at Stephanie lounging on the couch, her feet propped on my coffee table, and think about that empty balcony waiting for me. But the calm shattered one evening when my phone rang, Mom's name flashing on the screen. I was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for a stir-fry, my knife pausing mid-slice, the blade hovering over a carrot. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, the fabric rough against my palms, and answered, forcing a neutral tone. "Hey Mom, what's up?" Her voice came through bright and casual at first, like she was calling about the weather. "Camila, honey, how are things? Stephanie settling in okay?" I leaned against the counter, my free hand gripping the edge, the cool granite grounding me. Stephanie was in the living room, laughing at some video on her phone, oblivious. "Yeah, she's here," I said, keeping it vague. Mom chuckled, that light sound that always preceded her real agenda. Good, good. We knew you'd come through. Family sticks together, right?" There it was, the hook. I straightened, my shoulders tensing. "Sure, Mom, but it's tight here. 1 bedroom, you know?" She paused, just a beat, then her tone shifted, firmer, like a door clicking shut. "About that, your dad and I have been talking. Stephanie needs stability, and you're in a good spot. That apartment of yours, it's rented through us, remember? We co-signed when you moved in." My stomach twisted. I'd forgotten that detail, buried in the excitement of independence years ago. The knife lay forgotten on the cutting board, vegetables half chopped. "What are you saying?" She sighed, dramatic, like I was the one being difficult. "We're doubling the rent starting next month. It'll help cover Stephanie's expenses. Job hunting stuff, maybe some classes. You can afford it with your job, and it's only fair. She's family." Doubling? My mind reeled, calculating instantly. My current rent was $1,400. Double meant $2,800. That would wipe out my savings buffer, the one I'd rebuilt after the lease deposit. I slid down to the floor, back against the cabinets, knees drawn up. "Mom, I can't. That's half my paycheck. I have bills, my own life." Her response was quick, edged with that manipulative sweetness. "Camila, don't be selfish. We've supported you all these years. Remember when we helped with college? This is paying it forward." Supported me? They'd covered 1 semester before telling me to figure it out. I pressed my forehead to my knees, the phone hot against my ear. "But why double? Can't she contribute, or you guys help her directly?" Mom's voice hardened. "She's trying, but times are tough, and frankly, you've always been the responsible one. We expect more from you." Expect more. Those words echoed the old dismissals, making my fists clench on the tile floor. I wanted to yell, to list every time I'd been overlooked, but instead I muttered, "This isn't fair." She tutted, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Life isn't fair, honey. Your dad agrees. We'll send the new lease addendum tomorrow. Love you." Click. The line went dead, and I sat there staring at the screen, my breath ragged. Stephanie called from the other room, "Dinner ready yet?" I didn't answer, just pushed myself up, legs shaky. The vegetables blurred through unshed tears as I resumed chopping, the knife thudding harder than necessary. That night I lay in bed, the ceiling fan whirring above, stirring the humid air. Sleep wouldn't come. My mind raced with numbers, budget recalculations, side gig ideas, double the rent to force me to support her. It was genius in its cruelty, trapping me financially so I'd have no choice but to let Stephanie stay, to bankroll her rough patch. I rolled over, punching my pillow, the fabric muffling a frustrated groan. How dare they? I'd built this life without their help, and now they were yanking the rug. But as anger simmered, my secret apartment surfaced in my thoughts. A lifeline. The move-in date was close, I could accelerate it. The next morning, over coffee, Stephanie noticed my mood. "You look pissed," she said, pouring cereal into one of my bowls, milk splashing. I stirred my mug, the spoon clinking rhythmically. "Mom called, they're doubling the rent." She paused, spoon halfway to her mouth, then shrugged. "Oh yeah, they mentioned that, to help me out." Her nonchalance hit like a slap. "And you're okay with it? Me paying more so you can, what, crash here forever?" She set the bowl down, eyes narrowing. "Don't make it sound like that. I'm family. You'd do the same for me." Would I? The question hung unspoken as I grabbed my keys, heading to work early to escape. At my desk, surrounded by humming computers and chattering colleagues, I pulled up my email. There it was. The addendum from Dad. Formal and cold, demanding my signature. I forwarded it to Lena, my fingers flying. "They're forcing it, doubling rent." Her reply buzzed in, "That's bullshit. Stick to the plan. Get out." I nodded to myself, minimizing the window. This demand wasn't just financial, it was control, pushing me to the breaking point. But they didn't know about my escape hatch. I spent my lunch break calling the new landlord, voice steady despite the knot in my throat. "Can I move in early, like this weekend?" He agreed for a small fee. I transferred it, watching my account dip, but it felt like buying freedom. By evening, back home, the shock had hardened into resolve. Stephanie blasted music, dancing in the living room, while I packed more boxes in my closet, stacking them quietly. The rent hike was the final straw, but it also clarified everything. They saw me as a resource, not a person. As I taped a box shut, the adhesive ripping loudly, I whispered to myself, "Not anymore." This weekend, while they were away for that family trip they'd planned without me, I'd move. Every piece of my furniture, gone. Let them return to emptiness. Confront what they'd built. The thought brought a grim smile, my hands steady now, the spark was ablaze. That blaze inside me grew hotter as the weekend approached, but for now I had to endure the daily grind of Stephanie's invasion, her chaos seeping into every corner of my apartment like spilled ink. I'd come home from work that Friday, keys jingling in my hand, already dreading what I'd find. The door creaked open and the smell hit me first. Burnt toast mixed with something sweeter, like cheap perfume. Stephanie was in the kitchen, or what used to be my kitchen. Pots and pans scattered across the counters, flour dusted on the floor like fresh snow. She turned, spatula in hand, grinning wide. "Hey sis, making pancakes for dinner, want some?" I dropped my bag by the door, the thud heavy, and stepped over a puddle of batter on the tile. My shoulders ached from the day, tension knotting them, but this was a new level. "Pancakes? At 7 p.m.? I muttered, scanning the mess, my nonstick pan scorched, syrup bottle uncapped and dripping. She flipped one, splattering oil on the stove. "Why not? Life's too short for rules." Her laugh echoed, carefree, while I clenched my jaw, biting back the urge to snap. Rules were what kept me sane, what built my life. I grabbed a sponge from under the sink, the rough texture scratching my skin as I wiped up the batter, my movements sharp and mechanical. She plated a stack, sliding it toward me across the counter, but it teetered, nearly toppling. "Eat up." "I used your eggs, hope that's cool." "Cool?" I'd bought those for my weekly omelets, part of my meal prep routine. I pushed the plate away, my fork clattering. "Steph, this is a lot. Can you clean up after?" Her eyes rolled, dramatic, as she forked a bite into her mouth. "Relax, Camila, I'll get to it. You're always so uptight." Uptight. The word stung, echoing Mom's old jabs. I turned away, rinsing the sponge, water rushing hot over my hands, steam rising like my frustration. The evening unraveled from there. She blasted music from her phone, bass thumping through the walls, while I tried to work at the dining table, my laptop screen glaring back. Emails blurred as I typed, deleting half sentences, distracted by her singing off-key. "Turn it down?" I called, voice raised over the noise. She poked her head out, hair flipped. "It's my jam. Come dance." "Dance? In this war zone?" I shook my head, fingers digging into my temples, the pressure building like a headache. This wasn't just mess, it was erasure, her energy overriding mine. Later, as I cleared the table, her plate left sticky with syrup. I found her clothes strewn across the couch, my throw blanket balled up under them. I picked up a shirt, fabric soft in my grip, and tossed it into her bag, but she noticed, sauntering over. "Hey, that's cleanish." Cleanish. I straightened, facing her, our heights even but her stance loose, mine rigid. "This is my space, Steph, you can't just take over." She crossed her arms, hip cocked. "Mom said you'd help, what's the big deal? It's temporary." Temporary. How many times had I heard that? Her last temporary job loss lasted 6 months with me sending money quietly. The argument bubbled up then, words spilling like the earlier batter. The big deal is respect. You show up unannounced, trash the place, and act like it's yours. My voice rose, hands gesturing at the chaos, the open cabinets, crumbs on the rug. She scoffed, stepping closer, her breath minty from gum. "Respect? You're the one hoarding this apartment like a dragon. Share, Camila. Family shares." Shares. But it was always me sharing. Time, money, patience. While she took. I felt heat flush my cheeks, fists balling at my sides. "I've shared enough. Clean up or find somewhere else." She laughed, sharp and mocking, turning away. "Good luck with that. Parents already said I'm staying." The dismissal hit hard like a door slammed in my face. I retreated to my bedroom, locking the door with a click that felt final, leaning against it, breath heaving. The music cranked louder, vibrating through the wood, mocking my attempt at boundaries. I slid to the floor, knees to chest, staring at the boxes I'd hidden in the closet, packed with books, clothes, essentials for the move. My secret plan felt more urgent now, a lifeline in this storm. That night, sleep evaded me, the couch creaking as she shifted, her snores punctuating the quiet hours. I tossed, sheets twisting around my legs, replaying the confrontation. Her chaos wasn't accidental, it was entitlement, bred from years of coddling. By morning, the kitchen was still a disaster, pans crusted, floor sticky. I cleaned it silently, scrubbing with vigor, suds foaming under my brush. Stephanie emerged, yawning, grabbing coffee without a word. "Thanks for tidying," she said eventually, sipping. No apology, just assumption. I poured my own cup, the steam curling, and met her eyes. "This can't continue like this." She set her mug down, the clink loud. "Like what? Me living? Get over it." The words escalated us again, voices overlapping, me listing grievances, her deflecting with excuses. "You never loosen up," she yelled, gesturing wildly, knocking over a glass that shattered on the floor. Shards scattered, sharp underfoot, mirroring the fracture in our sisterhood. I grabbed a broom, sweeping furiously, my sweeps deliberate, pushing debris and her toward the door metaphorically. "Out," I said, low but firm. "Clean your mess for once." She stormed off to the bathroom, slamming the door, water running like white noise. I finished sweeping, dumping the glass into the trash with a satisfying clatter, then sat at the table, hands trembling around my phone. Text to Lena. "It's a battlefield." Her reply, "Hold on. Move soon." Soon. The family trip was tomorrow, they'd leave, I'd execute. But enduring today felt eternal, Stephanie's presence a constant rub, turning home into hostile territory. By afternoon she'd invited a friend over, unannounced of course, their laughter filling the space, feet on furniture. I holed up in my room, door shut, packing more discreetly, folding clothes with care, each item a step toward freedom. The chaos outside fueled me, hardening my resolve. This battleground? I'd abandon it. Leave them to the ruins. Abandoning the battlefield sounded poetic in my head, but the reality was this gnawing tension, coiling tighter with every hour, especially when my phone buzzed again that evening, pulling me back into the fray just as I thought I could breathe. I'd finished packing another box in my room, taping it shut with a soft rip that I muffled under a pillow, and was about to slip out for a quick walk to clear my head when the screen lit up. Dad calling? My thumb hesitated over the decline button, the vibration insistent in my palm, like a warning. Stephanie was out, thank God, meeting that friend for drinks, so the apartment was quiet for once, just the hum of the fridge filling the space. I answered, sinking onto the edge of my bed, the mattress creaking under me. "Hey Dad, everything okay?" His voice boomed through, gruff and direct, no small talk. "Camila, your mother tells me you're giving Stephanie a hard time." I pinched the bridge of my nose, eyes closing against the dim lamplight. A hard time? She'd turned my home into a frat house and I was the villain? "Dad, it's not like that. It's crowded here. And the rent thing." He cut me off, his tone sharpening like a blade. "The rent is non-negotiable. We own the lease rights, remember? Co-signed it to help you out back then. Now it's time you help us. Own the lease rights? My free hand gripped the bedsheet, twisting the fabric until it bunched in my fist. They'd co-signed, sure, but I'd paid every dime since day one, on time, no favors asked. Help you? By doubling it so I can fund Stephanie's unemployment? The words slipped out harsher than planned, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he chuckled, low and patronizing. Watch your tone, young lady. Stephanie's going through something. Depression, maybe. She needs support, not judgment. You're stable. You can handle it. Stable. The word landed like a punch, because it dismissed everything, the late nights at work, the skipped vacations, the careful budgeting that made me stable. I stood up, pacing the small room, my socks whispering against the carpet. Dad, this feels like punishment. Why not help her yourselves or let her get a job? He sighed, heavy, like I was exhausting him. We've done enough. Paid for her therapy last year, her car repairs. It's your turn. Family pitches in. Pitches in. But it was always my pitch, they're out. The conversation twisted then, his voice softening into that manipulative coaxing I knew too well. Listen, Camila, we raised you to be responsible. Remember when you wanted that marketing degree? We encouraged it, said it'd make you independent. Well, now use that independence to lift your sister up. Encouraged? They'd questioned it every step, calling it fluffy compared to real careers. I stopped pacing, leaning against the wall, the cool paint seeping through my shirt. This isn't lifting, it's dragging me down. Double rent means I can't save, can't breathe. He paused and I heard Mom in the background murmuring something. Then he was back, firmer. We've already talked to the landlord. The addendum's in effect next month. If you don't sign, we can pull our cosign and you'll be evicted. Simple as that. Evicted? My heart slammed against my ribs, breath catching. They were threatening my home, the one I'd made mine, to force compliance. You'd do that? Kick me out to make me pay for her? Not kick you out, he corrected, voice even like explaining to a child. Motivate you. Stephanie stays until she's on her feet. You cover the extra rent. Think of it as an investment in family. Investment. The term made my stomach churn. It was extortion wrapped in blood ties. I slid down the wall, sitting on the floor, knees up, phone pressed hard to my ear. This is control, Dad, not help. He laughed again, but it was colder. Control? We're parents. We know what's best. Sign the papers, let Steph stay, and it'll all smooth over. Mom took the phone then, her voice sweeter, the good cop to his bad. Honey, don't fight this, we love you both equally. Stephanie just needs a little more right now. Remember when she helped you with that school project in 5th grade? Pay it back. Helped? She'd copied my work and got us both in trouble. I rubbed my eyes, frustration building to tears I wouldn't let fall. Mom, this isn't equal. It's never been. She tutted, soft and dismissive. Always so dramatic, just do this for us, we'll visit soon, check on you girls. The call ended with her love you, but it felt hollow, echoing in the silent apartment. I dropped the phone beside me, staring at the ceiling, the fan blades spinning lazily. Their plan was clear now. Trap me financially, emotionally, until I bent. Pull the cosign, risk eviction, force me to support Stephanie indefinitely. My hands shook as I picked up the phone again, rereading the addendum email they'd sent. Legal jargon stared back, binding me tighter. But as the shock settled, anger rose, hot and clarifying. I pushed up from the floor, joints protesting, and opened my closet, eyeing the stacked boxes. Their manipulation was the push I needed. No more enduring. The family trip was tomorrow. They'd all head to Aunt's lake house for the weekend, leaving me to work. Perfect cover. I'd move then, strip the place bare. I texted Lena, parents threatening eviction if I don't comply. Her response, screw them, we're moving you Saturday. I nodded to the empty room, resolve hardening. This call wasn't just a hit, it was their undoing. As Stephanie's key turned in the lock later, her laughter spilling in, I faked a smile, hiding the fire. They thought they controlled me, but control slips when the controlled walks away. They thought they controlled me, but as I sat there in the quiet aftermath of that call, the apartment feeling smaller than ever, with Stephanie's return echoing through the door, I realized I needed more than just a new lease. I needed allies to pull this off without a trace. My fingers still trembled slightly as I scrolled through my contacts, landing on Lena's name. She'd been my rock through every family drama, the one who listened without judgment, and now, with the weekend looming, I couldn't do this alone. I hit call, the phone ringing twice before she picked up, her voice bright against the dim of my room. Camila, everything okay? Your text earlier sounded intense. I leaned back against the headboard, the wood cool through my shirt, drawing a deep breath to steady myself. Not really. The parents just upped the ante, threatening to pull their cosign if I don't agree to the rent hike and let Steph stay forever. It's like they're cornering me. Lena sucked in a breath, sharp over the line. That's messed up, straight up emotional blackmail. What are you going to do? I glanced at the closet, the boxes peeking out like conspirators. Stick to the plan, move this weekend while they're at the lake house, but I need help packing the big stuff, renting a truck. Can you? She didn't hesitate. Absolutely, I've got your back. Tell me the details. Relief washed over me, loosening the knot in my chest. I stood, pacing again, my steps soft on the carpet as I laid it out. The new place is ready. Paid the fee to bump up the move-in. It's that one bedroom on Elm Street, remember? Balcony, quiet building. I'll start with small boxes tonight, but furniture tomorrow when Steph leaves with the parents. Lena hummed thoughtfully. Smart. They'll be gone all weekend, right? We can hit it Saturday morning. I'll borrow my brother's truck. Saves on rental fees. What time? Early, like 8 a.m.? I want it done before anyone suspects. My voice dropped lower as I heard Stephanie moving in the living room, cabinets opening and closing. Lena caught the caution. Got it. Stealth mode. Should we loop in Mike? He's got muscles for the couch. Mike was her boyfriend, always game for heavy lifting. I nodded to myself, fingers tapping the phone. Yeah, if he's free. But swear him to secrecy. No social media, nothing. If my family finds out before I'm gone, she laughed, light but understanding. They won't. This is your rebellion, Camila. Quiet, but killer. What else, packing supplies? I opened my desk drawer, rummaging through pens and papers, pulling out a notepad to jot notes. I've got some boxes from work, but tape, bubble wrap. Could you grab that, and maybe coffee? This'll be a marathon. She agreed, her enthusiasm infectious. On it, Dunkin' Run extra large. Hey, how are you holding up? This isn't just moving, it's cutting ties. I paused mid-note, the pen hovering, ink blotting the page. Her question hit the core, the emotional weight I'd been shoving down. Honestly, scared. What if they freak out, disown me or something? But angry too. Years of this crap, and now forcing me to pay for her mistakes? No more. Lena's voice softened. You're not the bad guy here. They pushed you to this. Remember last year when Steph borrowed your car and wrecked it? They made you apologize for stressing her out. This is karma, but better. Your freedom. I chuckled weakly, the sound catching in my throat. Yeah, the new place, it's got this vibe. Like a fresh start, no shared walls, no expectations. We talked logistics then, her suggesting a checklist, disconnect utilities quietly, forward mail online to avoid paper trails. Change your address with work first, she said, and bank stuff, make it seamless. As we planned, I felt the plot solidifying, each detail, a brick in my escape route. One more thing, after the move I'll leave a note, nothing dramatic, just, I'm out, figure it yourselves. Let them come back to empty walls. Lena whistled. Bold. They'll have to confront it. No furniture means no denying. Steph can't crash on air. We laughed then, the tension breaking a bit, and I sat back on the bed, notepad filled with bullet points. Truck at 8. Mike for heavy lift. Boxes labeled vaguely. Thanks, Lena. I couldn't do this without you. You're welcome. But Camila, this is you doing it. I'm just the sidekick. We hung up, and I stared at the phone, the screen fading to black. The conversation had turned my vague plan into action, securing not just the apartment but the how, the rebellion mapped out. Stephanie called from the other room. Who was that? Dinner plans? I pocketed the notepad, stepping out with a forced smile. Just a friend. Work stuff, she shrugged, flopping back on the couch. My couch, soon to be gone. That night as she slept, I packed more, wrapping fragile items in towels, the rustle of fabric quiet in the dark. Each wrap felt like armor, building toward tomorrow. The escape route was set, now, to walk it. The next morning, the family buzz started early. Texts from Mom about the trip, excitement emojis peppering her messages. Wish you could come but work first. As if I'd been invited. I replied neutrally, heart pounding as Stephanie packed her overnight bag, chatting about lake swims. You sure you don't mind holding down the fort? She asked, zipping up. I nodded, stirring coffee, the spoon clinking. Go have fun. Inside, countdown ticking. By noon they were gone, car pulling away, confirmed by a wave from the window. I waited 10 minutes, then called Lena. Coast clear. She arrived with Mike, truck rumbling up, boxes and tape in hand. But that's tomorrow's push. Today was final prep, securing the last pieces. We mapped the apartment layout on paper, deciding what went where in the new place. Couch first, Mike said, measuring doorways with the tape measure, the metal snaking out. Lena labeled boxes, her marker squeaking. This is exciting, your own rules now. As we worked, plotting each step, load order, route to avoid traffic, I felt the rebellion ignite fully. This wasn't flight, it was strategy, secured through that call, through friends who saw me. By evening, prep done, they left. Hugs. Tomorrow, freedom, Lena whispered. I locked the door, surveying the stacked boxes. Ready. The escape route? Found, fortified, mine. The escape route felt solid now, etched into my mind like a map I'd drawn myself, and as Saturday morning dawned, gray light filtering through the curtains, I stood in the empty hallway, coffee mug warm in my hands, waiting for the knock that would set it all in motion. I'd barely slept, the anticipation buzzing like caffeine in my veins, replaying the plan over and over. Load the truck, drive to the new place, unload, repeat until nothing was left but echoes. Stephanie and the parents were miles away at the lake, posting sunny selfies in the family chat that I muted hours ago. The apartment was still, almost mocking in its quiet, furniture standing like unwitting participants in my rebellion. I set the mug down on the counter, the clink too loud, and checked my phone. 7:55 a.m. Lena would be here any minute. The knock came sharp at 8, and I opened the door to Lena and Mike, their faces flushed from the chill outside, truck idling at the curb with hazard lights flashing. Lena hugged me quick, her coat brushing mine, whispering, "Ready to ghost?" I nodded, stepping aside as Mike hauled in dollies, the wheels rumbling over the threshold. "Let's start with the big stuff," he said, eyeing the couch where Stephanie had sprawled for weeks. It was a bulky thing, gray microfiber I'd saved for, now scarred with her snack crumbs. We maneuvered it first, me lifting one end, grunting as the weight dug into my palms, fabric slipping slightly until I adjusted my grip. Mike took the other, Lena guiding us backward through the door, her voice low. "Left a bit. Watch the frame." The couch scraped the jamb lightly, paint chipping in a tiny flake that fluttered to the floor like confetti for my exit. We carried it down the stairs, my arms burning by the second flight, breath coming in puffs. The truck's ramp clanged as we slid it up, securing it with straps that Mike ratcheted tight, the clicks echoing in the empty bed. Back up for the coffee table. Glass top wrapped in blankets I'd taped haphazardly, the adhesive pulling at my fingers. I carried it alone, glass cold against my chest, reflecting my determined face back at me. Each trip down felt like shedding weight. Not just physical, but the emotional load of this place. The dining table next, legs unscrewed with a wrench Mike brought, the metal screeching as bolts loosened. I stacked chairs on top, tying them with bungee cords that snapped taut, pinching my thumb in the process. A sharp sting I ignored, focused on the rhythm. By mid-morning, sweat beaded on my forehead, despite the cool air, and we paused for coffee Lena had brought, steaming in paper cups. I leaned against the wall, sipping, the bitterness grounding me as I surveyed the half-empty living room, rugs rolled, lamps unplugged and boxed. "It's really happening," I murmured, voice thick. Lena squeezed my shoulder, her hand warm. "Damn right, they're gonna flip when they see this." Mike chuckled, wiping his brow. Epic mic drop. The thought fueled me. I set the cup down, grabbing the TV stand, wheels squeaking as I pushed it toward the door alone, determination overriding the ache in my back. The bedroom was harder, personal, intimate. My bed frame disassembled piece by piece, headboard leaning against the wall as I unscrewed slats, the screwdriver twisting in my grip, blisters forming on my palm. Mattress next, floppy and awkward, Mike and I wrestling it down the stairs, it bending at corners like it resisted leaving. We laughed midway, breathless when it nearly toppled us, but secured it in the truck atop padding. Dresser drawers removed one by one, contents already packed, clothes folded neatly, the way I'd always kept them. The empty dresser was lighter, but I felt the echo of years in it, drawers that held my secrets, now bare. Lena helped carry it, our steps synced, her grunts matching mine. Lunch was quick, sandwiches from a drive-thru, eaten in the truck cab on the way to the new place for the first unload. The drive was short, 10 minutes, but felt eternal, my knee bouncing as I clutched the door handle. Arriving, key in hand, shiny and new, I unlocked the door, the click resounding. Empty rooms greeted us, sunlight slanting across fresh floors. We hauled in the couch first, placing it against the wall, me fluffing cushions out of habit, claiming the space. Table reassembled, chairs around it like sentinels, bed frame up, mattress flopped on, sheets I'd packed separately thrown over in a hasty make. Each piece in place felt like puzzle slots filling, my life reassembling on my terms. Back for round 2, the apartment looking skeletal now. Kitchen stripped of my microwave, toaster, even the rug underfoot rolled and tied. I unplugged the fridge last, wiping it down with a rag, the hum dying as the cord pulled free. Pots and pans boxed, clattering as Lena carried them. Bookshelves emptied, shelves dismantled, screws pocketed in my jeans, jingling with each step. The final loads were miscellany. Lamps, wall art I'd hung myself, nails pulled from walls leaving small holes like punctuation marks on my departure. I paused in the bathroom, packing toiletries, the mirror reflecting my flushed face, eyes bright with exertion and something fiercer, triumph. By late afternoon, the truck made its last trip, packed with odds and ends. Vacuum, laundry basket, a plant that had wilted under Stephanie's neglect but I'd revive. Unloading at the new place, I arranged shelves, hung a picture, the hammer taps echoing in the quiet building. Mike secured the last strap in the empty truck bed, clapping me on the back. All done. Place looks good. Lena hugged me longer this time, whispering, "Proud of you." They left as dusk fell, truck rumbling away, leaving me alone in the new silence, not oppressive, but peaceful. I walked the rooms, fingers trailing walls, the balcony door open to evening air. Furniture placed just so, my order restored. Back at the old apartment one last time, to clean fingerprints, sweep floors, leave the key on the counter with a note. I'm out. Handle your own mess. The door locked behind me, finality in the turn. Driving away, streetlights flickering on, I felt light, unburdened. The move wasn't just secret, it was severance. Every piece gone, forcing their confrontation. My rebellion complete. Driving away from that empty shell of an apartment, the city lights blurring into streaks as I accelerated onto the main road, a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration settled over me, like I'd run a marathon and crossed the finish line alone. My new place waited, furniture roughly in position, boxes stacked in corners like unfinished business, but I wasn't ready to unpack just yet. Not mentally. The rebellion was done, but the high of it left me wired, needing to share it with someone who wouldn't judge or twist it. Lena had texted earlier, "Come over after? Pizza and debrief." Her place was a short detour, a cozy 2-bedroom she shared with Mike, always smelling of fresh coffee and whatever board game they'd left out. I turned the wheel, heading there instead of home, my hands still sore from lifting, palms red and tender against the leather. I pulled up to their building, parking crooked in my haste, the engine ticking as it cooled. The walk up the stairs, 3 flights, no elevator, gave me time to breathe, each step loosening the knot in my gut. Lena opened the door before I knocked, like she'd been watching from the window, her smile wide and genuine, pulling me into a hug that smelled of tomato sauce. "You did it! Get in here!" Mike was behind her, holding a pizza box aloft like a trophy, his grin matching hers. Hero of the hour, pepperoni as requested. I stepped inside, the warmth of their living room enveloping me, soft lamps glowing, a blanket fort half built in the corner from some earlier whim. It was the opposite of my family's stiff gatherings, where every hug felt obligatory. We settled on the couch, plates balanced on knees, the pizza steaming as I tore off a slice, cheese stretching in long strings. Lena leaned forward, eyes bright. "Spill. How'd it feel stripping the place bare?" I chewed slowly, the flavors bursting, salty pepperoni, tangy sauce, grounding me as I recounted the day. Like reclaiming stolen goods, every time we carried something out it was like peeling off their hold. Mike nodded, wiping sauce from his chin with a napkin, crumpling it in his fist. "Bet they'll freak when they see it. Empty walls, no couch, poetic justice." His laugh was deep, reassuring, not mocking like Stephanie's would. As we ate, the conversation flowed easy, no undercurrents of expectation. Lena set her plate down, crossing her legs under her, the couch cushion dipping. "Remember when we met in college? You were always the planner, but this is next level badass." I smiled, really smiled, the kind that reached my eyes. As I leaned back, the fabric soft against my tired back. Unlike family dinners where praise came with strings, this felt pure. Friends celebrating me, not what I could do for them. Mike grabbed beers from the fridge, the caps popping with sharp twists, handing me one cold and dewy. "To new beginnings," he toasted, clinking bottles, the glass ringing clear. We talked for hours, the pizza box emptying slice by slice, crumbs scattering on the coffee table that Lena swept away absent-mindedly with her hand. I described the new apartment in detail. The way the balcony caught the evening breeze, how I'd already placed my favorite mug on the kitchen shelf. It's small, but mine. No one dropping in unannounced. Lena's eyes softened, her hand resting on my arm, warm and steady. "You deserve that? After all the crap, your parents doubling rent, Steph treating it like a hotel, this is you saying enough." Her words hit deep, validating the ache I'd carried without pity, just understanding. Mike shared a story then, about his own family fallout years ago, moving cross-country to escape similar pressure. "Best decision. Built my life on my terms." He gestured with his bottle, the liquid sloshing. "You're doing the same." It wasn't a lecture, just solidarity, making me feel seen in a way my blood family never had. I fiddled with the label on my beer, peeling it slowly, the paper curling under my nail. It's weird though. Part of me waits for the blowback, calls, accusations. Lena shook her head, hair swaying. "Let 'em come. You've got us. Movie night next week at your place, break in that balcony." The evening wound down naturally, no forced extensions. We cleared plates, me rinsing them in the sink, suds foaming over my hands, the water hot and cleansing. Mike dried, towel snapping playfully, while Lena packed leftovers for me, folding the box with care. "Take this. Victory fuel." At the door, hugs again, Lena's lingering, Mike's backslap firm. "Text when you're home safe," she said, waving as I descended the stairs, my steps lighter now. Driving to my new apartment, the streets quieter under street lamps, their support lingered like a buffer against the coming storm. Friends like them, chosen family, offered what my biological one couldn't, genuine warmth, no manipulation. It contrasted sharply with those toxic dinners where every compliment hit a demand. Here, celebration was free, bolstering my bold move, reminding me I wasn't alone in reshaping my world. That sense of not being alone carried me through the night, a quiet anchor as I finally unpacked a few boxes in my new apartment, the cardboard flaps rustling under my fingers like whispers of encouragement. The next day, Sunday, dawned bright, sunlight slanting through the balcony doors onto the hardwood floors I'd already swept clean. I made coffee in my own mug, the aroma filling the space without competition from Stephanie's burnt experiments, and sat at the table, my table, scrolling through missed calls that had piled up overnight. "Mom?" 3 times. "Dad?" once. Stephanie, a barrage of texts escalating from "Where's my stuff?" to "WTF, Camila?" They'd returned from the lake house early, no doubt to the shock of bare walls and echoing rooms. My phone buzzed again, Mom's name flashing, and I let it ring, sipping slowly, the hot liquid steadying my nerves. This was the aftermath, the storm I'd brewed, and now it was time to face it, not on their terms but mine. By midday, the calls turned insistent, voicemails piling up. Mom's first. "Camila, what happened? The apartment's empty. Call me now." Dad's gruff, "This better be a joke." Stephanie's hysterical, "You took everything? Even the TV? You're insane." I listened to them all, phone on speaker as I folded laundry from a box, the fabric soft and familiar in my hands. Each message twisted the knife of guilt a little, but I pushed it down, focusing on the plan I'd rehearsed with Lena last night. Confront them calmly, set boundaries like walls, unshakable. No more giving in. I texted back a group message, "Meet at the old apartment in an hour, we need to talk." Short, direct. Their replies flooded in, agreements mixed with accusations, but I silenced notifications, slipping the phone into my pocket. Driving back felt surreal, the route so familiar yet now detached, like visiting a past life. I parked outside the building, keys to the old place still on my ring for this final handoff. They were already there, waiting on the stoop. Mom wringing her hands, Dad arms crossed, Stephanie pacing with red-rimmed eyes. As I approached, gravel crunching under my shoes, Stephanie lunged forward, finger jabbing. "You bitch! You left us with nothing." I stopped short, hands raised slightly, palms out. "Let's go inside, not out here." Mom nodded quickly, her eyes darting, while Dad grunted, following as I unlocked the door. The apartment hit them anew as we stepped in, empty, sterile, the air stale without my rugs to soften it. Stephanie spun, gesturing wildly at the blank spaces. See? She took it all. My clothes were on the couch, gone. Actually, I'd left her bags untouched, piled in a corner, but she ignored that, flopping dramatically onto the floor where the couch used to be. Mom turned to me, voice trembling. Camila, honey, why? We trusted you? Trusted me? I leaned against the wall, the paint cool on my back, crossing my arms to mirror Dad's stance. Trusted me to what? Bankroll Stephanie forever? Double my rent to force it? Dad stepped forward, face reddening. We were helping family, you overreacted. His words echoed in the hollow room, amplifying the tension. I met his gaze steadily, my voice even despite the pulse hammering in my throat. No, you manipulated. Threatened eviction if I didn't comply. That's not help, that's control. Mom interjected, hands fluttering. We didn't mean, Stephanie needs support. You're doing well, we thought. I cut her off gently but firmly, pushing off the wall. Thought I'd just take it like always, but I'm done being the safety net. This move, it's my boundary, I won't be used. Stephanie scrambled up, tears streaking her mascara. Used? I was staying temporarily, you could have talked to me. Temporarily? The word hung, laughable after weeks of mess. I faced her, hands unclenching at my sides. I tried, you dismissed it, trashed the place, acted entitled, and parents backed you, like always. Dad huffed, pacing the empty living room, his shoes scuffing the floor I'd once polished. Entitled? We're family, you owe us for raising you. Owe them. The old script, but I wasn't reading from it anymore. Oh, I paid my way since college, no more loans, no more covering. Stephanie, get a job. Parents, help her directly if you want, but not through me. Mom's eyes welled, reaching for my arm, but I stepped back, the distance deliberate. Please, Camila, don't cut us off. Cut off, dramatic, but I shook my head. I'm not, but new rules, no unannounced visits, no demands on my money or space. Respect my no or no contact. The words landed heavy, silence stretching as they processed. Stephanie sniffled, wiping her nose on her sleeve. So what now? We sleep on the floor? I pulled an envelope from my bag, the key and a printed list of cheap furniture spots, handing it to Dad. Landlord knows I'm out, lease is yours now, figure it. Dad took it, fingers brushing mine, his expression shifting from anger to something like shock. You're serious. I nodded, throat tight but voice firm. Dead serious, I love you, but not like this. Mom collapsed against him, sobbing softly, while Stephanie stared, mouth agape. I turned for the door, each step measured, hand on the knob. Call when you're ready to talk as equals, otherwise give me space. Outside, the door clicked shut behind me, their voices rising in argument, blaming each other now, not me. In the car, hands gripping the wheel, I exhaled long and slow, the confrontation replaying. It hurt, their faces etched in my mind, but the boundaries felt like armor, forged in that empty room. Back home, my real home, I texted Lena. Did it, boundaries set. Her thumbs up emoji buzzed in. Simple support. The aftermath wasn't over, but I'd handled it my way, rules etched clear. No more erosion, from here, engagement on my terms. With those boundaries firmly in place, like invisible fences I'd finally electrified, the days following the confrontation blurred into a rhythm of quiet rebuilding, where every small choice in my new apartment felt like stitching back together the pieces of myself that had frayed under their weight. I woke up that next Monday morning, the alarm beeping softly from my nightstand, one I'd positioned exactly where I wanted, not shoved aside by Stephanie's clutter. The sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains I'd hung the night before, casting warm patterns on the bedspread I smoothed with deliberate strokes, my fingers lingering on the fabric as if to confirm it was real, mine. No snores from the living room, no mess to navigate, just space, open and inviting. I padded to the kitchen barefoot, the cool floor tiles a gentle wake-up under my toes, and started the coffee maker, the gurgle and drip a soundtrack to my emerging routine. Work that day was an anchor, my desk at the office a familiar island amid the change. I dove into projects, updating marketing campaigns, tweaking ad copy, with a focus I hadn't felt in weeks, my keyboard clicks steady, emails flying out without the distraction of home drama pinging in my mind. During lunch, I stepped out to a nearby park, sandwich in hand, sitting on a bench where pigeons pecked at crumbs. I unwrapped the foil slowly, the crinkle loud in the open air, and ate methodically, bites savoring the freedom of no one demanding a share, My phone stayed silent. No calls from family respecting or testing the boundaries I'd set. It was eerie at first, that quiet, but as I crumpled the wrapper, tossing it into a trash bin with a satisfying thunk, I realized it was peace. Rebuilding wasn't about grand gestures, it was these moments, reclaiming time as my own. Back home that evening, I tackled the remaining boxes, starting with the one labeled decor, knickknacks I'd collected over years, each with a story untethered to family. I lifted out a ceramic vase, blue and swirled, bought at a flea market on a whim, and set it on the windowsill, adjusting it slightly until the light caught it just right. Next, books, my marketing texts mixed with novels I'd escaped into during tough times. I shelved them alphabetically, the spines aligning with soft thuds, dust motes dancing in the air as I stepped back to admire the order. The act was meditative, my hands dusting off covers, fingers tracing titles like old friends. This wasn't just organizing, it was reasserting identity, the planner, the dreamer, not the family fixer. As night fell, I cooked dinner for one, pasta with vegetables, chopping onions with precise slices, the knife rocking against the cutting board in a rhythm that soothed. The sizzle in the pan filled the kitchen, steam rising to fog the window slightly, which I wiped clear with a dish towel, the glass squeaking under the cloth. Eating at the table, fork twirling strands, I scrolled through my phone, not for family updates, but for local events. A marketing workshop caught my eye, free at the community center. I signed up impulsively, the confirmation email pinging like a victory bell. Reclaiming space meant filling it with growth, not obligations. The week progressed in layers, each day adding to the rebuild. Tuesday, I rearranged furniture slightly. The couch angled toward the balcony for better views, pushing it with grunts, the legs scraping faintly on the floor until it settled. Wednesday, I planted herbs on the balcony sill, basil and mint from the store, dirt crumbling under my nails as I patted soil into pots, watering them gently, droplets beating on leaves. Thursday brought a jog in the park nearby, my sneakers pounding pavement, breath sinking with strides, sweat trickling down my back as I pushed past the old limits I'd set to accommodate others. Friday I invited Lena over, the first guest in my new era. She arrived with wine, bottle clinking in her bag, and we sat on the balcony, glasses in hand, the city hummed below us. We talked deep into the night, her leaning on the railing, wind tugging at our hair. "How's it feel? Truly alone?" she asked, sipping slowly, the red liquid swirling. I set my glass down, the base tapping metal, and thought before answering. Not alone, independent, like I'm authoring my story now, not editing theirs. She nodded, her smile soft in the dim light. The conversation meandered to dreams, mine of advancing at work, maybe starting a side hustle in freelance marketing. "Do it," she urged, hand gesturing emphatically. "You've got the skills, reclaim that drive they ignored." Her words lingered as she left. Hugged tight at the door, her footsteps fading down the hall. Weekend came, and I dove deeper. Volunteering at a local shelter, sorting donations, clothes folded neatly, boxes taped with rips that echoed my own packing. It was impact, positive, using my organizational knack for good, not family bailouts. Sunday, I journaled on the couch, pen scratching paper, pouring out the identity I'd reclaimed, resilient, not resentful, boundaried, not broken. Each word inked felt like sealing the rebuild, my handwriting looping confidently. Through it all, micro-moments built the whole, brushing teeth without rushing, reading a chapter uninterrupted, choosing a movie just for me, remote in hand, volume at my preference. The family name? It didn't define me anymore. I was redefining it on my terms, through actions that honored my worth. Independence wasn't a destination but a daily practice, and in this space, I'd mastered it. Those daily practices of independence had woven themselves into a tapestry that felt unbreakable, but it was in a quiet moment one evening, weeks after the move, that the deepest realization settled over me like a gentle fog lifting to reveal clear skies. I'd just finished a long day at work, the kind where deadlines loomed, but I'd met them head-on, my proposals approved without the usual second-guessing that family doubts used to plant in my mind. I unlocked the door to my apartment, the key turning smoothly in the lock. I'd changed myself, a small but symbolic act. The space greeted me with its now familiar hush. No echoes of arguments, just the soft tick of the clock on the wall I'd hung at eye level for easy glances. I kicked off my shoes, placing them neatly on the mat by the door, the ritual grounding me as my socks slid across the floor I'd mopped that morning, still faintly scented with lemon cleaner. I headed to the balcony, my favorite spot now, carrying a cup of herbal tea I'd steeped, chamomile, the steam curling up in lazy spirals that I blew gently to cool. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, and I leaned on the railing, the metal cool under my forearms, watching birds flit between trees in the park below. My mind wandered, not to the chaos I'd left, but to the core of it all. My worth. For years, I'd sought validation in their approval. Mom's rare praise, Dad's nod, Stephanie's occasional thanks, measuring myself by how well I fixed their messes. But as I sipped the tea, the warmth spreading through my chest, I felt it shift. My value wasn't in what I gave them. It was in me, intrinsic, like the steady beat of my heart that I could hear in the quiet. I set the cup down on the small table I'd placed out here, the ceramic clinking softly, and pulled a notebook from my bag, the one I'd started journaling in since the move. Flipping to a blank page, the paper crisp under my fingers, I began writing, pen gliding with ease. Words poured out, lists of my strengths, not tied to family, my creativity at work, the way I built routines that nourished me, the resilience that got me through the rebellion. Each stroke of the pen felt like affirming a truth long buried. I paused, tapping the cap against my lip, tasting the faint ink, and thought back to the empty apartment they'd returned to. That act wasn't revenge. It was a mirror, forcing them to see their patterns. But my peace? It didn't depend on their change. It came from knowing I was enough without their echo. The sky darkened gradually, stars pricking through as I continued writing, my handwriting looping in the dim light from the balcony bulb I'd installed. A breeze rustled the herbs in their pots, leaves brushing against each other with a whisper, and I inhaled deeply, the earthy scent mixing with the tea's floral notes. Doubts surfaced briefly. What if they never respected my boundaries? But I let them pass, like clouds overhead, focusing instead on the solid ground I'd built. My job promotions, the friends like Lena who chose me, the small joys like this balcony view, they validated me internally without need for external applause. I closed the notebook, the cover snapping shut with a satisfying thud, and stood, stretching my arms overhead, muscles loosening from the day's tension. Inside, I washed the cup, water running over my hands, suds bubbling as I scrubbed methodically, the routine a meditation. Drying it with a towel, folding the cloth neatly afterward, I glanced at my reflection in the window, eyes steady, posture straight. This was self-validation, recognizing my worth in the mirror of my own actions, not theirs. It brought a profound peace, settling deep in my bones, like finally exhaling after holding my breath for years. As I turned off the lights one by one, the switches clicking softly, slipping into bed with sheets I'd chosen for their softness against my skin, that peace enveloped me. No more chasing approval, I had it within. Sleep came easy that night, dreams untroubled, my breathing even in the dark. The realization wasn't a thunderclap, but a quiet dawn. I was whole, boundaries intact, life reshaped on respect I'd earned from myself first. Have you ever felt like your family's expectations were suffocating your own sense of self, making you question if you'd ever break free? That's where I was, but taking that bold step to move out and leave them with the consequences changed everything. It wasn't easy, the manipulation, the chaos, the guilt trips, but reclaiming my space taught me that true peace comes from within, not from pleasing others. If you've got a story like mine, where you had to set firm boundaries or make a quiet rebellion to find your independence, I want to hear it. Drop it in the comments below, share how you flipped the script on a toxic dynamic, or what finally pushed you to prioritize yourself. Your experiences might inspire someone else going through the same. So what do you think? Did I go too far by stripping the apartment bare? Or not far enough and cutting ties sooner? Let me know in the comments. And if this resonated, hit that like button to show support. Don't forget to subscribe to Guest Stories for more real-life tales of empowerment and comebacks. New stories drop every week. Remember, your worth isn't up for debate. It's yours to own and protect. Stay strong out there.